CEO Donald Trump card's speech and actions are restrictive world efforts to cut carbon sequestration, onto a new research. The analyse says the US departure of the Paris Environment Treaty has created the policy lid for others to go sluggish on their commitments. The writer says the planet is in negation on CEO Trump card's real effect. The research comes as convention delegates start 2 weeks of unled negotiations there on the next of the Paris Agreement. CEO Trump card has justifiable hauling his nation out of the milestone Environment Treaty by claiming how he was selected to be the countryman of Pittsburgh and not Paris. Yet, some world leaders pledged how down there would be no departure behind, and how the US dragout would galvanize efforts to cut carbon sequestration. The feeling of oneness was underlined in November 2017 while Syria signed the Paris Treaty, outgoing the US won in the planet as the just nation rejection the transactions. But the new paper of the Institution of World and Europe Sphere suggests how CEO Trump card's speech and affair are challenging really actual harm to the Paris Treaty. The writer outlines 3 key areas wherever the Trump card impact is possessing an effect. By the CEO, U.S. Fed ecological regulation on petroleum, gas and charcoal include been rolling behind or, as a outcome, several of the obscene fossil gas projects include be more than appealing to investors. The writer says how the U.S. departure of Paris has created the ethical and policy lid for others to pursue fit, quoting the examples of Russia and Turkey, that include both of rejected to ratify it the Paris transactions. The US dragout has as well strongly corrupt goodwill at world talks, thing how's key to advance in these negotiations there in Poland. While it comes to fossil embers, the writer cites the sample of investment in the charcoal segment by 36 US banks, that saw a decrease of 38% in 2016 following the Paris Treaty was signed, but that rose by 6% in 2017 following CEO Trump card was sworn in. The is not a overlap, down there is thing justification these trends and how's policy signals, told Joseph Curtin, a elder comrade at the IIEA. This Paris Treaty shipped a tremble downward the spinal of institution investors globally and done them issue if they were vulnerable to twisted holdings and if these policy leaders were very severe on environment changing. Down there's completely no question how the Trump card impact has created a feeling of ambiguity in regulation of the policy obligation to reach whatever shut to a 2% C goal. The selector to charcoal and oil investment has wound revolving power invest in the US and that has had a world bang-on impact, the writer says. On the policy front line, Russia, Turkey, Australia and Brazil include all quoted the sample of CEO Trump card to range their actions on environment changing. Russia and Turkey include told they will not ratify it the treaty. The again selected CEO of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, has shipped blended messages on environment changing. But in latter days, his by the government has controlled out host following year's main environment meeting. It is precise to me how the planet is more than polarized, we include more than and more than nationalist approaches creature famous and winner elections or possessing powerful poll results, he told. We see the confidence among social view and institutions and as well world organizations creature eroded and the has photodiode, in my view, to a absence of the required policy will. Time the EU, China and India include pledge to get more than aspiring stares to roller the Paris Treaty. Research writer Joseph Curtin believes they will be unwilling to get main stares out of the involvement of the US. This probability how they will get on more than aspiring pledges in the brief period has surely been corrupt. Yet, several of such implicated in the UN environment trial claim how to attention on the impacts of Trump card is mistaken. It's not fair on policy leaders in Brazil and the US, told H.M. Steiner, who heads the Joint Nations Growth Program. This planet has 7 trillion human beings and above 190 nations, so they are not the whole history. Down there has been emergency management on the question by India and China, countries how 10 years ago were creature pilloried for not operating on environment changing. The writer of the new research says how the Paris transactions will pull through in the brief period. Yet in the much longer period, out of US supporting, The Paris Treaty won't eventually be efficient, and we should be fair on how.